Hello there, welcome back to my views and news. Some news stories from Ethiopia, Eritrea and Sudan. Firstly, good news for Eritrea. Eritrea imports wheat. We know Eritrea is not self-sufficient, but due to the suspension of Black Sea grain deal, Eritrea was concerned that imports from Ukraine could be already disrupted, but Russia is coming to support Eritrea. Russian president specifically mentioned Eritrea at today's Russia-Africa summit. We'll have a look at this development. Secondly, Getachew Reda, interim president, is in the US meeting Tigrayan diaspora, doing some lobbying too. He held a meeting with a member of parliament MP who is a very staunch supporter of the TPLF. Since the start of the war in northern Ethiopia, this MP has been proposing sanctions on Ethiopian federal government, Eritrean government. Thirdly, we have Shewa Robit, North Shore zone of the Amhara region, 6-hour-long fighting last night in Shewa Robit. Hospitals full of injured people, roads closed, curfew-like situation, temporary command post already established in Shewa Robit, city government nowhere to be seen. Fourthly, the Rapid Support Forces claim they have carried out another attack on an Air Force base, which was attacked by Rapid Support Forces around 2 weeks ago. This is second attack on this base, which is very crucial. Egypt sees this base as a red line. Egypt does not want this Air Force base to be taken by Rapid Support Forces. Meanwhile, the negotiators, Rapid Support Forces, Sudanese military negotiators who have been in talks in Jeddah are back home. Does it mean they could not make any progress? Firstly, viewers, Russia-Africa summit kicked off in St. Petersburg today. Putin addressed the plenary session of the summit. This is second Russia-Africa summit. Both Russia and Western countries are fighting for influence in Africa. First Russia-Africa summit was held in 2019. Back then, almost entire African leadership attended that summit. Out of 54, 43 African heads of state attended 2019 Russia-Africa summit. But this year, out of 54, only 17 heads of state are attending today Russia-Africa summit. And Russia is definitely addressing the main concern of African leaders, and that is food security. Because we know that last year, Russia and Ukraine signed Black Sea grain deal mediated by Turkey and the UN. Russia agreed that Ukraine can export its wheat produce. And after the Black Sea grain deal, 50 million tons of wheat was exported from Ukraine to rest of the world. But most of the wheat shipments ended up in high-income countries. Russia last week decided to withdraw from Black Sea grain deal. Both Ukraine and Russia supply wheat to several African countries. Food prices already gone up. That is why African countries concerned, is Russia going to meet African countries' requirements of wheat, or will it increase the price, etc. So that is why this main issue was addressed by Putin today when he opened the summit. He said Russia was ready to supply wheat to Africa on commercial basis and for free too. To poor countries of Africa, Russia would supply wheat for free. He mentioned a few countries where in the next 3 to 4 months supply of wheat is going to start from Russia. These countries which Putin mentioned include Eritrea too. Eritrea has been exporting wheat both from Ukraine and Russia. Now, when Black Sea grain deal has collapsed, it means Russia won't allow Ukrainian wheat shipments to Africa through the Black Sea. Eritrea now will have to be solely dependent on Russia, it seems, and Putin clearly mentioned Eritrea today. He mentioned the countries which are going to receive Russian wheat in the next 3 to 4 months. Eritrea, a key Russian ally. Central African Republic, where Russian Wagner fighters are based. Mali, where there was a coup and Russia backs coup leaders and there is presence of Russian Wagner fighters in Mali. Burkina Faso, again a country where there was a coup, Russia backing coup leaders. Somalia, Zimbabwe are the countries mentioned by Putin. So it means that Eritrean needs of wheat will be met by Russia. Will Russia provide wheat to Eritrea for free? That remains to be seen. But overall, a good development for Eritrea that Putin named Eritrea, that in the next 3 to 4 months supplies of wheat going to start from Russia to Eritrea, other countries. And Putin said that this year there was a record wheat produced in Russia. By the way, though Russia is trying to enhance its presence in Africa, Russia has not much to offer. Russia can only back those countries, those leaders which are being criticized by the West, like military leaders, coup leaders. But in terms of economic incentives, in terms of investment, Russia has not much to offer. Western bloc is a more influential bloc than Russia when it comes to investments, aid, projects in Africa. Russia can bring about a change if it joins hand with China. Russia-China joint intervention for economic cooperation with Africa can turn the tables. If they work separately, I don't think Russia is going to be in a position to push Western influence out of Africa. A clip for you of Russian President Putin when he mentioned Eritrea.
We decided to withdraw from the grain deal, and we are ready to continue to support the poorest countries of Africa, both on the commercial basis and free of charge. This year, we're expecting record yields. And in addition to that, I'd like to say that in the upcoming months, in the upcoming 3 or 4 months, we are ready to provide to Burkina Faso, to Zimbabwe, to Mali, to Somalia, to the Central African Republic, to Eritrea.
Secondly, viewers, Getachew Reda interim president is in the US holding discussions with Tigrayan diaspora, attending festivals, trying to justify the Pretoria deal, telling diaspora community that Tigray would try to have a modicum of independence. At the same time, Tigray would not secede, and he's hoping to get commitments of financial assistance from diaspora community. He has been seen with Brad Sherman. Brad Sherman is an MP from California, very vocal supporter of the TPLF of Tigray, interim government, Tigray regional government. In the 2-year-long war, we saw that several resolutions were tabled proposing sanctions on Ethiopian federal government, PM Abiy's government, Eritrean government. And Brad Sherman backed all the resolutions. He was part of one or two of the resolutions which proposed sanctions on Ethiopian federal government and Eritrean government. So he has been supporting Tigray, TPLF diplomatically. That is why maybe Getachew thanked him. So Getachew is doing some lobbying too in the US, thanking those American MPs, senators who supported TPLF and Tigray. Though Ethiopian government supporters criticize Brad Sherman. They say that Brad Sherman is funded by Tigrayan diaspora community. Brad Sherman's election campaign is funded by Tigrayan diaspora community members. A few months ago, a list of donations to Brad Sherman was made public, showing some Tigrayan diaspora community which made donations to Brad Sherman's election campaign. Getachew busy. He wants to get financial support not only from diaspora but also from the US government, keeping in view the close ties between US and Tigray, US and TPLF. Getachew is hoping that he'll be able to get some commitments from the US government. The US government would support Tigray. Tigray needs financial support. We cannot deny that Tigray is faced with multiple challenges, and Tigray needs money. Ethiopian federal government dragging its feet. It's not in a position to implement the peace deal. Peace deal's implementation is going to be managed by the US and West. So Tigray is relying mainly on US support for reconstruction, rehabilitation and implementation Pretoria deal. That is why meetings between Getachew and US lawmakers and officials. Thirdly, we have Shewa Robit, North Shewa zone of the Amhara region. No government there. Ethiopian curfew was imposed there a few days ago. Then temporary command post of ENDF established, still fighting. 6-hour long fighting erupted between Fano fighters and Ethiopian National Defense Force in Shewa Robit. By the way, if ENDF and Fano fighters fought for 6 hours, it means that Fano fighters are in a position to challenge ENDF. We're not saying they're more powerful than ENDF. Point is that if ENDF is finding it difficult to eliminate Fano, how can police and militia think of confronting Fano fighters? That is why militia members, police, they're trying that they shouldn't be part of this war because they don't have the capabilities, the skills, the weapons, the training, etc. 6-hour long fighting in Shewa Robit last night. And then today, main roads blocked. Shewa Robit to Addis road was blocked an hour ago when we talked to a few people. Secondly, Shewa Robit to Rasa and other roads too. Main roads leading from Shewa Robit blocked. Secondly, hospital. Shewa Robit hospital is surrounded by security forces. No one is allowed to enter the hospital. Why? We don't know. Maybe injured ENDF soldiers are being treated there. That is why. Because if people are allowed to reach the hospital, they'll know what is happening, how many have been injured on ENDF side. That is why reportedly hospital sealed and local patients suffering, not being allowed to enter hospital premises. It's difficult to say how many were injured, how many were killed on the two sides in this confrontation. But in Shewa Robit, there is complete collapse of local government. Shewa Robit mayor, I have not seen him in any meeting. Reportedly, he fled. Shewa Robit PP members in hiding. One resigned, who is head of Youth League. He resigned today. And some others resigned too. So either they are resigning or they are in hiding or they are fleeing the town. ENDF there, ENDF unable to control the situation. By the way, how will ENDF control entire Amhara if there is military rule announced, which was being claimed by some news outlets, that it had been decided that Amhara region should be put under military rule. If ENDF cannot secure Shewa Robit, how can it secure entire Amhara region? That is why I said that ENDF would not agree to announcement of military rule in entire Amhara. It would like to be at the back, though it's difficult for ENDF to be at the back. It wants political players to play their role. Political players are divided. Some are supporting Fano, others are very weak. That is why ENDF has very limited options. It is on front lines. It has to be on front lines. Militia, police are not in a position to counter Fano factions. Last year, Sudan, another attack by Rapid Support Force members on Wad Sayyidna Air Force Base, situated to the north of Bahri, a very strategic Air Force base. Second attack by Rapid Support Force members on this base in almost a month. RSF claims its fighters destroyed 3 jets at the base. Ammunition depots were also destroyed by RSF members. This base is seen as a red line by Egypt. Egypt said that if the 3 bases, Wad Sayyidna, Muhandasin and another one, if these 3 bases fall to Rapid Support Forces, Egypt would be forced to intervene in Sudan. That is what Egyptian officials told some international players in private conversation. It's not their official position, but that is what they've been saying, Egyptian officials. And RSF, this base is now within RSF's reach. Second attack, it means one day they can capture Wad Sayyidna base. Secondly, talks between Rapid Support Forces and Sudan military held in Jeddah. That is why maybe intensity of fighting remained a bit low in the past 1 week or so, because talks were underway in Jeddah between the representatives. The 2 sides' representatives have returned home reportedly. Why? For consultations. Reportedly, some progress has been made, but the 2 parties want to consult their leaders. That is why they are here in Sudan. I think Sudanese armed forces will have to make concessions. They are, I wouldn't say they have lost, but RSF is on the offensive. Sudanese military losing ground. We could see Sudanese military make concessions. Let's see, will the negotiators return to Jeddah to rejoin talks mediated by Saudi Arabia and US? That we'll see in coming days. Thank you for watching.